So I now have a full day of testing, and I came up with some very quick and inexpensive camera mounts that I think are going to make this a lot better. Let me just try to detail these out in a very short video. Now what I did on day one of testing this, let me just tell here, because I wanted to pass this information on. There's a couple of things wrong with this camera that you can fix yourself, you can fix instantly, and I want to show what they are in detail. The biggest one I had a problem with day one. I put the camera on the motorcycle and I go to hit start and stop and start and start. It was very inconsistent. What would happen is I'd push the button and it would start. The next time you'd have to push it twice. Next time once. Next time twice. So I figured out what the problem was. You can hear it, in fact. Here's what the problem really was. And to cure that problem, it was pretty easy. And by the way, this case is a little trickier than the Anart one. You really almost need two hands to get it open. But if you look inside, here's what's happening. This is moving around and shaking. Now it did two things. It made the sound gurgly, and then it was from the resonant vibration on a handlebar of a motorcycle. But then as soon as I'd move this to a location with less vibration, like the helmet mount, that sound went away. So I knew right away, this can be cured the same way I cured the Anart. I have a little piece of balsa wood. Luciano, by the way, cures his a cute way. He puts a piece of a zip tie in there. But what you want to do, you don't want to shim it on this side. You want to shim it on this side. And what that does, or even a piece of matchbook, it minimizes how much this can, and this one is really loose. I may have to shim it on both sides. See, I have a handful of these shims. A lot better. But if that camera is rattling around in there, it picks up the sound at certain resonant ranges. So that's number one. We figured that out. And I made myself, as I went through the tests, believe it or not, I did it like a scientist and took some notes. So that was step one. I'm going to go write down my notes here because then I'm going to physically do these things. I wanted to share them though. And it's really important to keep this lens perfectly clean. I've been using a paper towel, but it's better if you use a microfiber. There's a nice feature of this camera that's very nice, is the light on top is nice and bright. The only problem is this big giant thing goes over it. And what I had to do is, let me show it. I took a Dremel tool and cut this notch in here. That all makes the light visible. So now while you're riding, you can tell if the camera's on or off. Again, once I shimmed this and made the camera nice and solid, then the buttons, everything worked very predictably. So basically the modifications that make this a much better camera in my estimation for what we're doing. In fact, you don't even need the camera in there to see this. If you see how this little indentation is made, well, it's fine if it's just your finger. But if you have a glove on, you're really awkward. Same thing with this button. Now what I did, I want to show it up close. I took an ordinary 8, this is an 832 cap nut you can buy in Lowe's, in a hobby store, any place. A very common thing, and you don't have to have this. It can be anyone, a nut. But what it does, it makes the button a little bit longer, so when you come around with your glove, it's just easier to access those buttons. So that's one modification worth its weight in gold, is the extended buttons and cutting this little piece off here. Now, there's also a very nice feature of this camera as opposed to the Anart. Let me just turn it on. This light is nice and bright. On an Anart it's red. The yellow seems a little more visible in sunlight. But here's what it has too. It has a light on the side that is visible when the camera is mounted in front of you. So when you turn this on to shoot any video, you can see that light flashing now. So that the light up here is flashing. The light over here is flashing, so you have a much better chance of knowing. And many times I've been on a group ride and I couldn't tell, the sunlight was bright and I just couldn't tell if the camera's on or off. So what I do is I'd stop, shut the camera off, and have to go through this gyration of getting it back on and then waiting for the light to turn on. But that's just one of the things that I wanted everybody to know, that this is a little bit of an upgrade over the original camera. Now the big problem is, like anything else, there are things about this that I have to deal with. I have to learn them for sure. Okay, so what I want to do when I go down, and you can see how this works. Here's what I wanted to show. When you're taking a video, of course the video is here, and I'm not sure this is even going to show, but in fact what I have to do is put something here. I'm trying to do this like a professional, and what happens is, you can see how this changes everything. Now the cheap Anarts don't have this feature, so you don't have to worry about it, but you do have to worry about it with this camera, because what will happen if you're doing some other video and you happen to hit that side button with your glove as you're going around, you change the whole focus of the camera, and several of the things I shot were out of focus for that reason. So I have to be aware that when I'm turning the camera on and off, I can't reach my glove around and hit that front button. Now you access the menu when I'm trying to do this, of course. You access the menu through the button on the front, and you can tell as it'll turn into a video camera, a camera, and then go into the mode where you have all that's accessed through the front. Here's the problem with this. You can see already here, if I go through these features, every one of them, some of them I'm not sure exactly what I'm getting for my money here. Like for instance, when it's in TV mode, I don't know what that buys me or not until I do some tests. So what's going to happen is in the next couple of weeks I'm going to be trying to do some tests, basically like I did on that day one. And I'm going to take some notepads with me and a pen and try, for instance, the way I would test this. If I don't know what this TV mode is, one thing I don't know what that buys me. Does it make it better, longer, change the resolution, whatever it does? What I'll do is I'll go out to the park or somewhere, ride down a road, shoot the video, stop it, change the camera setting, come back here and turn that feature off, and go basically repeat the same ride. Then I can come home and compare two on the same day with the same vibration, everything exactly the same. So, but having all 32 features, it's going to probably be a long time before I can maximize each one. The only one I can tell you for sure that I've done already, and I did it even though I've done the test with the Anart, is the one of trying to shoot it in 1080 instead of 720 or 730, whatever it is. The super high resolution always makes for choppy. The road coming at you gets choppy, and the trees far away get out of focus. I don't know why. At 720, I would suggest anybody start off at 720 and save yourself some grief. Now, there's a couple little features we can steal from the work that we did with the Anart camera. The thing with the Anart camera is there's basically no features. There's no real adjustments. You can turn the date on and off, and that's about it. But the things that really make it worthwhile, in my opinion, that make it that I'd want to, let me just put this on for 1 second. See, this is really important. If I can get this to show. That light, when you're riding, this camera's in this position. And you have to determine, this is the only thing you see is the red here. So, kind of inconvenient. It's not terrible, but for sure, it's something that I've already got different kind of button extensions on this one. This little mirror helps, if you can see that. Again, this is just to share information. We're not trying to sell anything, or the little lens made from a piece of an old sunglass, a little carbon fiber baseball hat. All nice, but this is the one that's worthwhile. Let me shut the camera off. Here's what always happens. These cameras, when you get them, they rattle around. You notice this one doesn't rattle at all. Of course, we've done the development on this. I broke both of the hinges. You can replace the hinges with a piece of Gorilla Tape, not to worry. But my back, and I'm going to do this to the Lightdow today, I got 4 holes to let more of the sound in. Of course, that means you can't take a bath with the camera and play rubber ducky with it. You got to keep it dry. Keep a sandwich bag with you. Same way when I went with Chris up to watch the Blue Angels, we just put a sandwich bag over the camera while it was raining. This is what really, they missed the boat on this, I don't know how, that I put a little piece of Gorilla Tape on the camera, because you can see it doesn't really like to come out even without a shim, and I always shim them. So when I take that out, what happens, the shim stays on the bottom of the camera. Without that shim in there, what happens, this thing is, it's rattling around like crazy. And Luciano was the first one figured that out. But this little piece of Gorilla Tape, this will make your, especially when you're on the road and you're trying to work under battle conditions, the little shim goes in, and what I do when I want to make it a little bit thicker, I just wrap another layer of masking tape around it. But you don't need something super heavy duty. This one shims top to bottom. I didn't want to shim it on this side because then it may be that the buttons have trouble working. But what I haven't tried yet, genius that I am, I still haven't tried that. Oh, it does fit. Okay, so another nice thing is the batteries, the chargers, all of the little things that make, and I have made my own, I've got about 100 now of camera, little things, stalks and things with ball joints on them to record off the motorcycles, but it's nice, and this will be one test in the future. Of course, we'll share everything we learn. This might be something worth trying. Again, having all these options, it's like having a baseball team where you have a whole bunch of players and you just need to get the right one to do the right job now. I know all the work I put into this camera, and keep in mind, this is the bottom line on everything. If you just want to go out and spend $500, $400, whatever a GoPro, yeah, you can do that, but this is $14. And I'm doing it more or less as a challenge to see how good I can make a $14 or in this case an under $40 camera, how good I can make it and still put it on YouTube for under $40. And maybe in my next life I'll come back as a turtle or a giraffe or something, and I'll buy the $400 camera and just say everybody that did this wasted their time. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It's a hobby. It's free. It's fun to do. Well, the first thing I want to do, and I remember that this worked very well. Luciano had done this, drilled. It doesn't seem to matter if you drill a lot of holes or a few, but I just put one in each corner because I want to keep this protection over the camera. So, but this drill, a step drill, seems to be the way to do it. And what that does, just put one in each corner, not really fancy either. What it does, it allows the sound to get inside a little bit better. And I did notice, because I did the test, I have two of these cases. I did one with the same camera and then did basically the ride up the mountain with the case that was sealed. The one with the sealed case, it muted the sound. This lets some of that growl get in there. And these cameras don't really, in my opinion, they don't work well. If you try to take a picture of people talking, they don't pick up sound real well. But they do pick up engine noise. This helps them pick up the engine noise. And these drills, of course, come from Harbor Freight. Okay, so now we have pretty much the same situation as we have on the Anart. And we know another thing, the cameras are interchangeable. So an example, another test I could do anytime I want, really, is just take both cameras, mount one to the front of the bike, one to the back, as an example, and then stop and take this camera, put it in this case, this camera in this case, and then just compare the sound. Maybe one of them is a little bit better. I don't know, but picking up the sound on these cameras, I like to hear the sound of the engine running. I don't care if I can't pick up people talking or cows burping or whatever, but I do want to have, I listen to the engine of the motorcycle when I'm riding. Some people don't. They listen to who knows what. Spaghetti boiling over. But I would rather listen to the motor of the motorcycle that I'm riding. And something I don't even think I could live without Gorilla Tape anymore. I use Gorilla Tape, and for people that don't know, it is not duct tape. It is super duct tape. And if I took I wish they would make little rolls of this like Scotch tape. I'd put this in my pocket. This you can fix things with. It's amazing. When you're working, you can hold things in place. Now, what I did, I took a piece of the duct tape, folded the back end over. Again, not a critical size or shape or anything. Now I want to see, I don't want to interfere with the battery, where the battery mounts. So I can just, and I do want to have a tab. And this has worked out beyond perfect in the time that I've done this with the other camera. I'll trim this off with a razor blade, but that gives me a little tab to just pull the camera out of that case, especially when you're on a ride and you want to change the battery, because a lot of times, and I take 3-4 batteries with me all the time, because I know I'm just going to, on a group ride, I like to shoot the whole ride, then come home and edit out all the stoplights and police giving us tickets and whatever. So here we have what I hope is all the upgrades from this camera, the buttons, extensions, the door. The only thing left, and it's really something I have to spend a lot of time on, I need to figure out how each one of these features affects, let me just wipe that off, each affects the way that the camera works. Now what happens is, I'll get this out of sight, what happens is, if you use this camera to shoot a soccer game and put it on your helmet or something, it's different than if you use it on a bicycle. I am only interested in shooting from a motorcycle. A motorcycle has various vibrations. When it's on your helmet, it has very little. Handlebar ends, a lot, because you're out on a diving board. If you mount it closer to the frame of the bike, like I have on the R1, it's mounted right up in the front, it seems like it minimizes the vibration. Also, when they shoot backwards, it seems like the vibration is less in the back of the bike. The seat and everything is all rubber mounted. So it's a very strange thing. I've spent a lot of time trying to do the job of the best job I possibly could for a very low budget, and then to pass the information on, and most of all pass on the free videos so you can have the feeling you're a member of the A-Team riding around in the middle of the winter. We can look at these videos of riding when we're sweating. It's just a lot of fun to share. I find it to be a lot of fun to share. And again, this camera was under 40. This one was 14. There's over 800 videos now out on YouTube. I hope you've enjoyed some or all of them. And most of all, it's an ongoing thing. Thanks for watching. We'll see what we could learn tomorrow. We got to learn about all these features. That's the next thing.